Welcome into the Legislative Lounge. I am your host, Natebige, with my co-host, Professor Mike.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good week. We've been out, but we didn't do last Saturday, so we've had kind of a little bit of a break, but that doesn't mean that the world hasn't stopped because there's been a lot going on lately, right, Mike?
A little bit of a break, a little bit of a change, which that'll come later.
Right.
And the world is starting to turn in a positive direction, like we've been saying.
Uh-oh. And I mean, we've got a couple executive orders to look at, on a couple trade deals on the table, and a whole lot of movement for the administration, honestly, especially with Congress being back in office. We have a
Finally,
megalodon of a tax bill that's supposed to be voted on in the next few weeks, so we'll go over here. So
we
got a,
got we
got a
got
list.
foreign countries to talk about. We got gifts to talk about. We got the stock market to talk about.
Right. Yeah, but to start everything off, if you looked at our graphic, our main focus is taking a look at the trade because me and Mike made a prediction, right, with this whole trade deal, tariffs, war, all this other stuff, that by the end of the summer, right, we would be in a much better place than what we were prior to Trump taking office, especially in the stock market, in economic trade, and just prices overall, right, especially at the end of the year. Well, we want to pose a question to you guys right off the bat, as based off of everything that you know, or at least what you've seen through the news prior to before we even get into anything, what is your opinion or your thoughts on the international stage of trade when it comes to the United States? What is your opinion of Donald Trump and how he's taking effect? I want you guys to put that in the comments. Repost this and give your opinion on it and put it out there because we really want to know.
We make content for y'all, and the only way we know how to make content is if you engage with us. So we want to bring the best possible content to y'all. So please tell us what your opinions are. Do you think we're going in a positive direction? Or is Donald Trump everything that you hoped? Are you regretting your vote like me and Nate do?
There's so many people that misunderstood that video. It was crazy.
Mine too.
But I see that people, that we do have some people with us. So if you are here live with us right now, put it in the comments right now so that we can see what is your opinion of everything from an international stage or trade stage, I should ask. So put that in the comments, but we're going to just dive right in. And honestly, the biggest news right now is, well, there's two of them. One came out today, but from the last week, the UK made a deal with the United States, which we all knew was happening.
Mm-hmm.
It came a lot quicker than I thought it would, honestly, in my opinion. Mike, I don't know what yours is.
I mean, you have a top of the line businessman that has had multiple business ventures. I expect nothing less than success from this man.
Right.
So this UK deal, inevitable.
Right.
It's gonna be the same with Canada.
I mean, me personally, I thought countries like Canada, Mexico would be the first deals done, honestly, just because of how reliant they are on the U.S. dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I understand the UK is beholden to us when it comes to a lot of different things, especially when it comes to military. People really don't realize how much military we provide them, the entire EU, honestly, because that's a major portion of this trade deal that we're going to talk about. We do have some details on it. Mike, I don't know what your knowledge is on it, but I wanted to give you the floor on it.
So I haven't done a lot of reading into the UK-US deal. Mm-hmm. So I defer my answer to you.
Yeah, no problem. I actually have the specifics for us. A lot of it has to do with a majority of the exports that we're getting from them. So new markets are up. It's going to be up $5 billion. the overall revenue that the America is going to benefit in the end is $6 billion. So that means that we were under a deficit with most of our trade. There was very, very, very few countries where we had a surplus. This will put us in a $6 billion surplus. You can see here the tariffs, they're going to be lowering them down from their average. Now, these are averages. These aren't like there's products that are up. There's a lot of products that are up. There's products that are down. But prior to this deal, they were charging us a U.S. tariff of 5.1%. They're going down to 1.8. And then
Wow.
with us, we were always around 3% no matter what, with almost everybody in the world, honestly, which is why we felt like we were being screwed in the trade deals all the time. It's because even with the UK, we were at 3.4% on average. Now we're going up to 10%, which is where that $6 billion is coming into play. But a lot of it has to do with ethanol, beef, cereals, foods, vegetables, which is a big thing because we didn't actually have a whole lot of produce coming from the UK prior to this. We got a lot of our produce from like Mexico and Canada, or it was mostly homegrown, right? So we're getting a lot of that.
Well, it's a good thing that we're getting that beef and vegetables from the UK now, because right now we're on a temporary halt from getting beef and whatnot from Mexico because they have some type of what is it?
Kind of like mad cow disease or something?
Parasite problem.
Oh yeah,
within their meats.
That makes sense. But
so
I know a lot of our steel and aluminum comes from there, from the UK. So that's a huge portion of it. Another big one is pharmaceuticals. Because a lot of people don't know about that. We get, I believe Pfizer is somewhere in Europe. Like that's where they come from, I believe. But then they also have a couple other huge companies out there as well that provide a lot. And then auto manufacturing, that's a big one because we don't have a whole lot of U.S. vehicles going to Canada, but we do have them coming here. We've got the Rolls-Royce, we've got the BMWs, we've got the Audis, we've got the, all these other vehicles that are coming to America, but there's no vice versa. That changes.
Well, yeah, I think that had a lot to do with the automotive tariffs that they had placed on us.
Right.
We got them American-made gas guzzlers.
And they'd be shocked at how much better our vehicles are than some of these other luxury vehicles that they provide. Because in all honesty, outside of some of the even BMW can be considered a luxury vehicle in some form of fashion with most of them, right? So a lot of their vehicles are more so that luxury style rather than getting something that is more for the everyday man, right? More affordable, whatnot. Now, I don't really know what the prices are of vehicles over there, but I can only assume, and what is an Audi i8 is here is like over $100,000. I don't know what it is over there, right? But they have the BMWs, the Volkswagens, all these other vehicles. I would say Volkswagen would probably be the only like everyday vehicle that they have. But being able to sell or transport Chevy, Ford, all these other big brands here in America over there, that's going to absolutely help our automotive, because that's been a huge thing. Because right now, I've got a lot of family in Michigan, right? Everybody knows I'm originally from Michigan. So I get updates on the big three all the time, right? Because half my family works for either GM, Ford, or Chrysler, right? Because they're all right there in the Flint to Detroit area, which is where I originate from. And specifically, all of the GM trucks are made in Flint, Michigan. So like every GM truck you've ever seen was in Flint, Michigan at one point in time. So I've got a lot of family that are either middle of the ground to the left, and they're all like, "Look at what he's doing! He's destroying it. They're laying off GM employees left and right." I'm like, guys, first of all, GM goes through a cycle of laying off people multiple times a year. Like this isn't nothing new. Like stop. You guys look goofy, honestly. But then, I mean, with a lot of the automotive parts and things like that that are going to be coming through, a lot of these big companies will import parts, right, from other countries. A lot of it comes from the UK. A lot of it comes from India and parts of China, which we'll get to in a minute. But those two countries, China and India, are another big thing that we'll be talking about here in a moment. But that just adds more oomph to the whole automotive industry here, right? Because going back to 1994, we've been talking about how the NAFTA deal was an absolute disaster for all forms of manufacturing. It doesn't matter if it's auto, furniture, all of it, right? North Carolina, this is a kind of a segue, but for those that like education, North Carolina was the absolute hub of America, or no, the Western Hemisphere, honestly, of furniture manufacturing. Because of what the ramifications of NAFTA did, there's zero furniture manufacturing in the state of North Carolina now. But the new trade deals that are being implemented will allow for those to be regenerated, hopefully, which will boost North Carolina. So if you're from North Carolina, you should absolutely love what we're starting to see.
Yep. So I'm seeing a lot of movement, and it particularly connects to China. So if I'm not mistaken, they paused all those tariffs for 90 days.
Yeah, so actually there's a lot of great things, and I love the way that the White House labeled this too. They put out a press release, right? Because Donald Trump announced it this morning. The art of the deal, the U.S. and China Inc. initial trade deal, right? Within this trade deal, they are Secretary Bessent, which he had indicated that there's a 90-day pause as they continue their talks. Now, a lot of people be like, oh, they folded, just like they did when he paused it for all the other countries. No. It's not like somebody folded. It's if all honesty, it's China that folded because they were quietly making changes on their end, which is if you do VPN and you start to dig into foreign news networks and whatnot, you'll start to see that they were actually trying to oust the current administration over there in China because of this whole situation. You think our stock market was bad? Nah.
They were crippled. They were crippled, and it's because they manipulated their currency so much to make it low value, and they relied solely off of export and oversaturated the market. And when we imposed those 145% tariffs on them, it crippled them in a way to where they had to shut down over 50% of their manufacturing.
Right, because the last time I looked, it was roughly 23.6% of their total exports. I believe that's the exact number. I know it's 23, but I don't know what the point is. But it's 23% of their entire exports is solely from us.
We're the largest consumer in the world.
150% on that completely implodes because now we're not buying their crap because they won't pay the tariff. And you saw the ramifications. Now, when it comes to our stock market is absolutely light years above and beyond when it comes to solvency and whatnot. But when it comes to their stock, their stock market takes a 1%. It's a huge difference. When ours takes a 1 to 5% dip, their 1% is huge. It's massive. Right, but they're for the next 90 days, they're dropping it down 15% on all tariffs, right? For most of them, I should say. And then they talked about the one of the biggest things that Donald Trump was always talking about was the whole fentanyl issue. Because if you don't know, most of the fentanyl that's coming through either our northern or southern border is actually being sourced all the way back to China. China is the world's #1 producer when it comes to fentanyl. So that 100%. That's a positive path for them.
Yep. It's because of these trade deals and negotiations that something else is taking a big swing for the net positive, green positive. And I thought we were headed towards a recession. I thought the market, was telling us that we're headed towards a recession. I've been hearing that all over social media, Nate. Where's our recession?
Right. The issue is that people, first of all, can't even properly define what a recession is. I mean, you take a look at one of the main factors, like there's a couple, right? One of the main factors is not only the GDP growth, and everybody's like, oh my God, we dipped a little bit. And it's like, well, no dip, Sherlock. We stopped buying everybody's shit. So
What was it? Is it two
they stopped
negative?
buying ours. Of course, there was going to be a hit. I was
Is,
expecting a
is
bigger
it two?
hit.
Is it 2 quarters of negative GDP growth, or is it three
Two,
quarters?
right? But there's other factors that go along with that. And one of the major factors is job growth, right? If we have a reduction in job growth, then that's one of the key indicators. However, for 3 consecutive months, we have exceeded expectations.
April, was it 40,000?
Yes, it was 40,000, and then in March we absolutely blew it out of the water by like 150,000 jobs. This is crazy, right?
Well, from what I'm seeing right here, the stock market itself, which is, like I said all the time, I agree with Joe Biden and say it's not accurate representation of the economy, but the stock market as it sits right now is up 2.81%.
Right.
In the Dow Jones.
Also, inflation's another big factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's happened since he's gotten into office, Mike? And we do have a question in the chat. We'll get to you here in a second. But, I mean, since January, what's happened to the inflation, Mike?
It's gone down. I think we started at 3.
Yep, it was like 3.1, and we haven't even gotten April's yet, right?
But March, February, we were what, 2.2?
Well, through true inflation, but I don't use that.
No. I thought March said 2.2.
No, so February was 2.8, so we went down 0.2. A lot of people were like, "Oh, it's nothing." Well, it's gonna help your pocketbook, so obviously you care. But in March, it was 2.4, which that trend is supposed to be. There's rumors that when it does come out, we're going to be seeing around either 2 to even under 2. So, I mean, we're going to see a nice drop, hopefully.
Well, I mean, we're having a lot of positive growth, and it's actually coming along faster than I even thought.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we have, an additional 2.81% increase in the Dow Jones, for a almost 4.5% increase in NASDAQ, and a over 3% increase in S&P 500.
Right, and I've got the numbers here, but these are actually from taken earlier today. They're all higher right now. At the close of the stock market, it was much higher. It was like the Dow was sitting around 1.1K. S&P's like 180. NASDAQ is 750, something like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So Dow Jones is sitting at 42,410. So that's plus 1160. The NASDAQ is sitting at 18,708. So that's plus 779. And then the S&P 500 is sitting at 5,844, and that's plus 184.
Yep. So there's Dow, there's S&P, and there's the NASDAQ, which are the 3 primary sources of what they look at when it comes to these. But I want to get to Julie's question here. She asked a very good question. So what do you think will happen after the pause? With 30%, isn't that still too high for business to rely on foreign imports? Well, first of all, Julie, just so that you're aware, nobody's being receiving 30% outside of China. But they're also giving us 30 more than that. I think it's like 50% is the total for the reciprocal tariffs right now for everybody. However, you have to understand when it comes to trade, these are good faith adjustments, right, in regards to the reciprocal tariffs. So as they continue these negotiations, just like they did with the UK, you'll see a reduction in the overall tariff through the negotiation, because the tariffs themselves are just basically hey, we ain't screwing around, get to the table and we're going to talk, we'll make adjustments from there. But it's basically just the initial, like, get your ass to the table.
And there's a couple things you got to take into consideration when you start looking at these trade deals. If the trade deals were not going to be effective, you wouldn't have investors start flocking towards the stock market, right? They'd be busy selling all their shares,
right,
and emptying, right? But what we're seeing is the opposite. We're seeing investors taking an interest into the stock market again. They're making investments. You're about to see a jump,
right?
And we're not even through all 150 deals.
We only have one deal signed, one, right? In the mineral rights deal, if you want to count that with Ukraine, which we talked about previously. But honestly, I'm talking about trade deals. There's only one. And I don't even know if it's actually officially signed yet, Mike. I mean, we'll have to look into that. But I know the terms of everything is done, right? It's got to go through, on our end, it's got to go through, be approved by Congress and then signed, right? So that's the order here. And I assume UK has the same thing with their parliament, which is their Congress, essentially. That's what they call it, parliament. But you also have to understand a lot of these companies are starting to move production here to eliminate tariffs altogether, right? So we could talk about foreign imports all day long, but when a lot of their manufacturing is actually being moved here, that's going to not only incentivize, they're going to be incentivized tax-wise through Donald Trump's, executive orders that hopefully will be changed into law here soon with this megalodon of the tax bill that they're promising. Which, i.e., we'll get to here. It does include tax on tip and all that other stuff. The liberals are still trying to hit us with, oh, where's all this at? It's there. We've got to write it up. However, like I say, when it comes to the actual investments back into America, you also have to look at this. Problem is people are looking at this from one, like a narrow path, right? Just one specific issue when it's a multifaceted approach. Like trade is not something that's like, oh, here it is. No, there's many nuances, many variables that are involved into it. Economics is not easy, man.
Well, well, yes and no. So when we look at this, Trump's taken a basic approach as far as economics go, right? He's seen he saw an oversaturation of the market by China, and he saw us being taken advantage of by, basically 150 different nations. And he said, how can I, fix that? Okay, well, I'm going to tariff the hell out of everybody and get them to come over to the table.
Right. And that's basically what we did with China here. And to kind of wrap this up with China, part of the negotiations, one of the biggest issues, which you'll see videos of even Chinese people making fun of Americans of like, oh, what did he say? Look in your house and see how many things say made in China. And this is how much, he shows an empty hand, how much it's in my house that has made in the USA. Well, that's going to be part of the deal where that's going to be changed. So there's that. But another executive order that is making waves right now, right? I mean, if you have a problem with this executive order, there's something wrong with you fundamentally, right? So what is it? Today, he came out and signed a bill automatically lowering drug prices across the board for a lot of American pharmaceuticals, right? This bill is actually one of the most comprehensive. Order. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Executive order.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Executive order.
I don't want to skip.
You're right. No, you're right. No, thank you. Thank you. Because I like to use proper terminology. The reason why I keep saying bill is because it's exciting to me. This is exciting to me because there is a Democrat representative in the House of Representatives by the name of 𝗪𝗧𝗏, right? I can't remember what state he's out of. Usually I'm pretty good out of that. But he is actually mulling over making this into an actual bill. Which be surprising because the damn Republicans haven't done a single one of them.
And me and Nate will call all of them out.
I just did the other day with a video, I think it was yesterday, where I'm sick and tired of seeing Republicans sitting on their hands and feet, right? And just be like, they've only passed Trump has only signed 5 bills since being in his first 100 days. That is the lowest since the 1950s. And my question is why in the world hasn't a single executive order even been presented to be codified? And now we have a Democrat doing it. Oh, Lord. Anyways.
Exactly.
So in this bill, it's great.
Oh, he's from California.
Oh, he's from California. I thought he was yeah. I couldn't remember, but I didn't want to be wrong again. The United States has less than 5% of the world's population, yet funds roughly 75% of the global pharmaceuticals profits, right? a lot of that is coming from places like India, UK, and whatnot. A lot, what is it, 40% of the generic drugs that are used here in the United States, 40% of them, which is the most commonly prescribed drug, right, is the generic versus the name brand. The generic, it makes up 40% comes from India. So taking a look at the deal that's been in negotiations with JD Vance, who's been spearheading that, is almost ready to be signed. Hopefully it'll be by the end of this week, if not into next week, which would be huge, huge, especially if we get this along with this becoming codified into law, would be absolutely one of the biggest wins ever. I mean, one of the problems with America is the fact that we have so many people on prescription drugs, which, first of all, most of y'all don't need to be on them, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Majority of y'all don't need to be on them. But when this goes to this has to go into a committee as a bill. It'll go before so since it's financial, it'll go before the House Ways and Means. It'll get voted there, and then if it's passed through there, it'll go to the floor for a vote.
Right.
And then make its way to the Senate.
Right. So hopefully, and that the whole thing about it, though, is the fact that this is a Democrat doing it, not a Republican. Like, that's my biggest thing. Sorry.
I will give kudos to whatever party is making positive moves.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, the fact that we have a Republican president and yet none of the Republicans are actually even doing anything is a huge issue for me.
Which, I've said it all the time. Republicans and Democrats are the main cause for the detriment in our society.
Right.
They haven't done shit. They've collected their $200,000 paycheck and basically gave us the bird.
Right. Absolutely. And another win, since we're talking about, I mean, the winning doesn't stop here, you guys. Like, I'm not an individual that continuously just like sucks off politicians and Donald Trump, right? Like, I will be critical of them if I need to be, and I have been. But like, the winning just never stops. Yep. And this next one is actually kind of controversial in the sense that a lot of people don't agree with it. But there are, Mike, you're going to be able to talk on this more because you know the inner workings of it. But the Supreme Court ruled that I'm sorry, here's an ad. The Supreme Court ruled that the DOJ, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗧𝗧 himself, could move forward with ousting the trans individuals that are in the military, which there's actually benefit to that because the problem is that trans individuals are not deployable. So they're literally just paper pushers.
So, so I served for 12 years. I was a platoon sergeant, weapons squad leader, team leader, squad leader, what have you. I led, from small 4-man teams up to, 4 months as a first sergeant where I led 160 people. Now, when you're talking about readiness, you want your squad, platoon, company to be the most physically fit, the most mentally fit, the most mentally resilient. Does that sound like transgender? No. So the problem with transgender individuals is, one, they have to be on continuous hormonal treatments. Because it's a psychological issue, they are automatically enrolled into behavioral health, and they have a plethora of therapeutic appointments. Wow. Automatic non-deployable, automatic net detriment. I have no place for you in my formation because you are now a weak link in the chain, right? Mm. The man or woman next to you, to your left and right, cannot rely on you because you have a disconnect up here.
Right.
So it's better, and the military is not for the weak or faint-hearted. It is meant for the most physically tough, mentally tough, and mentally resilient, emotionally resilient individuals. That's why we have military entrance processing. They put you through medical screening processes. That's why we have basic training. They put you through mental and physical and emotional strenuous testing. If you don't if you're trying to conform reality into something that it's not, the military is not for you. The military is not to shape itself to you. You are going to get broken down, and you're going to conform and assimilate to the military structure and doctrine. And what 𝗦𝗡𝗥𝗧𝗧 is doing, I tell you what, he's already made a lot of changes, not just with this transgender stuff, but he's already made changes to the physical fitness test as far as the applicability to the Army as a whole. And thank God I went to Ranger School in 2019 when it was easy compared to what he did now, because he changed the physical fitness standards of that and made it 10 times harder.
Didn't he eliminate the difference for women and men, and made them just like a standard for all of them?
Yeah. So when it comes to combat MOSs, combat military occupational specialties, it's going to be a strict bar. Like, you have to adhere to this standard. And that's how it should be. When you're on the front lines, I want the absolute best. I don't want somebody that's going to be a detriment to the formation.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can't rely on an individual because, you know, they don't know what damn bathroom to use, there's an issue with the whole situation.
Like, the main issue on, you know, why I chose to get out, mainly because I was under Joe Biden as my commander-in-chief, was because my hands were basically tied behind my back as far as training goes. I couldn't yell at people because I had to worry about their feelings. Mm-hmm. Right? War don't care about your feelings. The terrorists over in Afghanistan don't care about your feelings. That 18-year-old kid holding an AK all hopped up on you know, whatever supplement he's got doesn't care about your feelings. Like, so, you know, we are getting back to creating war fighters. That's what we need.
Absolutely. And talking about moving into a different direction now, though, I just wanted people to be aware of, you know, some of the wins that we're seeing out here. Another one is a lot of people are out here talking about, you know, well, Donald Trump isn't following through on all these tax incentives, no tax on TIV, no tax on overtime, no tax on service workers, even though that every single one of those bills were introduced individually, right? And the fact that the Democrats were stalemating them before they couldn't even get out of the actual committee hearings, right, to get to the floor for a vote because the Democrats kept stalemating it. The problem is, or the great thing is, I should say, is that the Republicans are now introducing those into the reconciliation bill, which is a bill that's focused on revamping the tax system and codifying and making the 2017 tax incentives that helped a lot of Americans and a lot of businesses in a lot of different areas. They're making it permanent, along with no tax on tip, no tax on overtime, no tax on the service workers. It's all in there.
I can't wait. Oh my goodness. No tax on overtime. I'm a guy that works. Nate knows I work a lot. I work. That's why we had to make some changes. So so this whole no tax on overtime, that's amazing for guys that for men and women that work that hourly shift that are not as, you know, fortunate as my brother over here.
Yeah, God's blessed me, but what when it comes to this bill, though, it's supposed to be. You. Say what?
You guys say it's because Mimi's smarter than you.
Sure.
Don't let her hear you say nah.
I said but so this bill is going to be voted on in the House in the next, I believe they said before. I don't think there's a specific date on it yet, but it's before the end of May, and before they break for the summer session. And in regards to that there's an issue with the way that it could get to Senate. So in the House, we have 220 Republicans to 215 Democrats, right? It should easily pass. Regardless, we don't need a single Democrat to vote for it to pass. That's the great thing about it. That's the good thing about having the majority in the House. However, when we get to the Senate, we have a little bit of a different issue. The problem is in that we have 100 senators, right? In Congress, we have 435 individual representatives. In Congress, it's a little bit harder because there's only 100, all right, 2 from each state. And there's been questionable individuals that really haven't gone along with what they supposed to represent, right? So
Yeah.
in that, but even in that, we only have 53 to 47, right? A lot of people are like, well, that's great that we got 6 more seats in the net. In the Senate, though, they have a little thing called the filibuster, right? Filibuster is where they just basically challenge the bill and talk and talk and talk until somebody motions to what's called a cloture vote, right? And a cloture vote requires the House to vote 60% or more to move it forward. So they can force a cloture vote through the filibuster, which means that the Republicans would have to pick up not only the questionable Republicans in Senate, but they'd also have to pick up at least, was it 7 Democrats?
Yeah.
To get the bill to go forward. Because we know it's going to pass the House. It's going to pass the House. I have zero doubt about that. But the Senate, so if they pass it with a cloture vote, that'll go to Donald Trump's desk to be signed. But it's actually getting to that point is the problem. And you tend to question is like the Democrats are always pushing this mantra of, oh, we're for the middle and lower class. We want to, give them tax breaks and incentives and all this other stuff. When in all reality, that's what this bill does, because we've already seen the effects of it. And a lot of people like to boast this up as being, oh, it's a tax incentive for the mega rich. No, everybody got a tax incentive from it, right? Your higher child tax credit that you have, that's from that. A lot of people like to say that, oh, no, Biden didn't. No, he didn't. There's a single bill that they passed that increased the tax incentive from the 2017 bill. All they did was regurgitate the 2017 bill, right? Because there was a sunset clause in it, which is why they're trying to make it permanent now.
Exactly. We keep saying that we're winning, right? Well, a federal judge just allowed the IRS to share illegal alien data with DHS.
Well, hang on. Before we get to that, I want to stay on this because we do have a good question from our good friend True.
Question.
Go ahead.
How long will it take to get the tax money from our OT? I can see it now. When I file taxes, they're going to say I didn't pay enough.
So essentially what happens, we always say the next tax year is typically when those go into effect. Now, that might be different depending on the specifics of the actual bill itself and whether or not they'll implement it this year. But typically, you'll see that probably at the beginning of next year, if it passes and is signed by the president. You'll start to see the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, all this other stuff.
So, there's a lot of different legislation that's going through Congress as a whole right now. You have the dissolvement of IRS and the creation of the External Revenue Service. So there's a lot of things. You have Anapolina Luna. Nate, you brought that to my attention about something else that she's doing. There's so much things in the realm of winning that's going on. Like this federal judge allowed the IRS to share illegal alien data. So basically what that means is the DHS is going to be able to analyze the IRS's documentation as it pertains to non-citizens. That way they can get accurate information on where these people are located and they can expedite that deportation. So that's a great thing. Anything to expedite the millions of illegal aliens on their exodus journey.
Right, absolutely. The whole thing with the securing the border, the immigrants, all of this, it's been blown out of proportion because you got so many people out here saying, "Oh, there's no due process, there's no this, there's no that." It's just
I'm so tired of it. I don't get burnt out on a topic much, but it's like when people fail to read, even if I can put the document right in front of your face, where it never said El Salvador, it said Guatemala, where it says that not all illegal aliens get due process. There's expedited deportation orders, where, you know, constitutionally, illegal aliens are not afforded constitutional rights.
Right.
Illegal aliens do not get the same due process as Nate and I do.
Nope.
Like, I could say all this and I could bring you evidence, but these people are stupid.
I mean, the problem is that most of them failed civics, and it's clear as day. Like, well, I don't know if civics class aren't teaching them properly or if they just failed it.
Oh, they're not teaching. They're either high, drunk, or they just not listening. We saw it last weekend. Me and Nate, we were live, and we found out there are 3 branches of Congress.
Yeah, Lord. Like, these are the individual.
I gave this cat multiple chances, and he quadrupled down on it.
I mean, the man literally said 3 branches of Congress, and we gave him so many chances to correct himself. But these are the individuals that are telling us this and that, right? But at the same time, they're talking about due process and all this stuff, and when it comes to immigration, when in all reality, you think that immigration courts run the same as a court that you and I would go to. That's not true, guys. Like I say, they aren't teaching it right in your civic class, obviously, because immigration courts do not fall under the judicial branch. They're not a judicial court. They're an immigration court. Falls under the DOJ. It's handled by Department of Homeland Security, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the Department of the Supreme Court has already ruled in multiple cases, but just as recently as December, saying that when it comes to illegal immigrants, visa holders, green card holders, the effects of what happens to their status is held within DHS solely.
I mean, we see it in State v. Munoz, right? We saw it in Barfa v. Mayorkas, right? We saw the Supreme Court in their written opinion chastise federal district courts because the federal district court was trying to tell the head of the executive branch what he can and cannot do. That's operating outside of the judicial purview. These federal district courts there needs to be accountability in that area.
So our favorite troll, Reality Check, made a good question that he obviously doesn't know, even though we just explained it. He says, "Stop. What's stopping them from locking you up with due process?"
I know my rights.
Because the 5th and 6th Amendment don't apply to them, but it applies to us. We just explained that.
Like, when you start to actually read and you make a distinguishing discovery between law and statutes and codes, your eyes will be open. And you'll be able to articulate the differences and applicabilities of each. Statutes and codes pertain to municipalities and commerce.
Right. And just
law
so people
apply to us.
I know somebody was just talking about asking in the comments what case that was. It's 𝗪𝗧 v. Mayorkas.
Don't ask me to spell it. Don't ask me to spell it.
BOUARFUS. I know how to spell it. I just don't know how to say it.
Oh,
man, I don't know why I didn't even think about this. Holy cow. My favorite topic. Thank you, Zach.
Hey,
for those that aren't aware,
welcome in.
For those that aren't aware, Letitia James, man, everybody, America's favorite attorney general from New York, right? I put out months ago, right? And I can say months ago now, Mike. That's crazy, right?
You're
months ago in March.
You're the only one.
I told people, watch, she's going to be brought up on charges for mortgage fraud. A few weeks later in April, the board of what is it, the finance board, the federal finance board, refers to the DOJ, and then what happened just a week and a half ago? The FBI formally opens an investigation into her. Uh-oh. And then what happened on Friday? She was subpoenaed by a grand jury. Uh-oh. But it goes even deeper, because it wasn't just mortgage fraud. It's coming to light that she also had campaign fraud. Wait a second. Why does that sound so familiar, Mike?
Man, we're seeing a lot of different cases just come together.
But campaign fraud.
Yeah.
I swear that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Almost as if that's what they got Trump for.
Campaign fraud and real estate.
Uh-oh.
That's two that the Democrats are also guilty of.
So my saying never dies. The left never accuses the right of something the left isn't already doing. And I will continue to say this until I die, because I am always right.
Mm-hmm. You know what's interesting? We talked about this, we were kind of back and forth on whether or not to bring this up, but it seems to be an annoyingly hot topic, and it has to do with this stupid 747 jumbo jet out of Qatar.
Lord.
Listen, if you're going to criticize Donald Trump for accepting a gift that he hasn't even accepted because it's under deliberations between the two nations' ministries and Department of Defense, you're an idiot. And you should probably look at the gifts that were given to the individual Democrats from foreign states.
But it's the fact that they stop with, this Qatar is giving them a jet. He's giving them a jet personally.
No,
he's not. If you guys actually looked into it, the specifics, you would see that Donald Trump is going to accept it so that way he can have the U.S. Air Force modify it to become the new Air Force One.
Uh-huh.
Which would mean that when he leaves office, the next president gets it.
After his 4 years, it gets put into the presidential library.
Right.
And every living president has access to it. Not just Donald Trump. But people are trying to claim, like Chris Valenti, that guy that we stopped in a debate in 5 seconds. That guy that just lost his 3 million account.
Yeah. Oh, did he lose the whole account?
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. Chris Valenti.
Yeah, that's what you get for lying.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, kind of like rule.
But people are trying to claim that this is a violation of Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, right? The accepting gifts from a foreign state as a sitting official of in government. So it doesn't even qualify.
Yeah, I know. Oh, whoops! How did that get up there, Mike?
I should have known better when you went silent and you started grinning.
We always
if you
love
all
our
do not know whose comment that was AJ's rant room.
Yeah, go follow AJ. He's got a great podcast himself.
The rant experience. Also, go check out ajsrantroom.com. Go check out some of his rant gear. You can find your own white privilege shirt, tank top. You can take to the gym. I do. Or if you don't like white privilege, you can get your black privilege shirt, established 1863.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get to the gym. Don't be fat. Don't be lazy.
But kind of going backwards a little bit, though, Mike, we were talking about immigration, right? And there's a whole war, it seems like, on federal agents, more specifically ICE agents, that are just doing their job, right? They're being instructed by the president to do their job in getting people that are not supposed to be here out. And yet they're being attacked. They're being threatened. In a lot of cases, there's physical altercations with these individuals. Like just as recently, right? There was a this Newark, New Jersey mayor. that's a mouthful. Trying to
Newark.
force his way into an ICE detention center. And he then was arrested, obviously, for trespassing and assaulting federal agents. And yet, all of Twitter, social media, oh my God, they're arresting judges and mayors now.
Yeah. I mean, it's still happening today. Leftist protesters arrested after violent clash with law enforcement at Newark ICE facility. Leftists create human chain blocking emergency vehicles from entering the ICE facility. Like, you know, when Donald Trump lost in 2020, allegedly, when Donald Trump lost, barring January 6th, let's skip to January 20th, 2021. You didn't see all this violence come from the right. What the hell's the matter with the left?
Yeah, there was congressional people there too that were being threatened to be arrested because they were literally putting their hands on federal agents.
They should be ousted on ethics complaints.
Absolutely, expelled from Congress and brought up on charges for physical assault. Like, that's just crazy.
Yes. Yeah, if I go if I go punch an ICE officer, I'm getting thrown in jail.
Absolutely.
Going to jail. But apparently, if you're a Democrat in Congress, you're fine.
But I mean, this is the problem: is you have these leaders, right? "Quote unquote" leaders, mayors, congressional members, and judges. All these people that we're supposed to espouse to, look up to, you know, because they're leading our society. They're the ones that are creating individuals that I'm about to talk to, right? This is about like the fourth or fifth one that I personally have come across that is out here literally telling people to kill ICE agents, giving them instructions on how to target them and target their families and get rid of them. So take a look at this real quick, and I want your honest opinion. Everybody in the comments, comment about it.
A law called Stand Your Ground, and that goes for all the red states in the United States of America. And on top of that, what makes it funny is they don't like immigrants. And so they're trying to wipe immigrants off the streets, and they have ICE and stuff like that, but they don't realize that the Stand Your Ground comes to red states, and all the immigrants are moving here now because they realize that if an ICE agent comes in and tries to break into where you live, you are legally able to shoot them and fatally kill them. If they come into your work and they try to harass you and mess with you, and you're able to defend yourself. If they come into your car and try to intimidate you, you are legally able to shoot them. And so ICE agents all across the United States of America will not go into apartments or any cars or employers in America right now because they're scared they're going to get fucking shot. Because I don't know what Trump's paying you, but $50K is probably not enough. So it's not worth getting shot over, I can tell you that.
So much wrong with this video from start to finish. Like, stand your ground laws don't apply in this instance, right? For a number of factors. And if I have to go over them, God help you, honestly, because that's just wild to even think. But Mike, I know you saw it earlier, but I never got your take on it. What are your thoughts on it?
I want to see him test that theory.
Right?
Like, that is deadly misinformation. Like, that won't just get you locked up. That'll get you, that'll set your meeting with Jesus.
Right. And I mean,
like, there's so much wrong with that. I don't even know where to start.
Like, first of all, ICE agents don't make $50,000 a year. I think their average is like $80,000 or $90,000 a year. So
it really depends. Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement. The Border Patrol, Customs and Border Patrol can make anywhere from 46 to 70 starting out. ICE can make anywhere from 60 to 80.
Right. So I mean, even down to the numbers he was citing are incorrect. But what's even more wild about this, Mike? He doubled down.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
ICE. Now it's time to come after ICE. So let's figure out where these people are, who they work for, and on top of that, let's figure out if they have families, where their household is, and let's rip them the fuck apart from their family and put them in fucking jail.
So you're threatening the entirety of immigration, customs, and enforcement. Like, dude, like,
It's
you
wild.
about to be made famous. There's another dude that we made famous, and he in jail. You about to be in jail, homie. It's too easy to trace your IP address.
I know.
And I know your dumbass ain't using a VPN. And even if you were, it's too easy to break through that.
Right. I mean, honestly, I don't know if you can see it, but this is actually a retweet of that original video from that individual who was a real estate agent in the state of Michigan, right? More specifically, Dearborn. So I was able to find him real quick because I'm very familiar with the area. This is a retweet from Kristi Noem saying that if you threaten or attempt to harm a law enforcement officer, we will find you and prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. This was just last month. Or no, this was in March. I'm sorry. In March. And yet you still see individuals doing this dumb shit. I have lost for words why you think that free speech includes threatening individuals, especially a federal agent and their family.
Like, makes me want to go apply to be ICE.
Honestly, I can't even formulate thoughts with this, honestly.
No,
so, I mean, if you guys have follow me on Instagram or TikTok, go or even take my video and put it on X and tag all of them. You know, Kristi Noem, 𝗪𝗧, all of them, so that way
make
they
your own content,
or make your own
content. Take that video, make
it.
your own content, spread that dude around. He needs to be gone.
Absolutely. I mean, and he's deleted some videos as well. Like, this isn't the only two videos that I've personally seen. They were just sent to me from another friend of ours, and that I just chose those two. But there's many more apparently. And if you guys are really interested in possibly making this known, because honestly, any person that's going to threaten somebody should absolutely be known. This is his TikTok. He goes by OG Music _ what's it here? It's the illustrated, but the dummy didn't know how to spell illustrated. He spelled it ILLISTRATED instead of ILLU, but whatever.
Wow.
So, yeah, go ahead and make him famous. Yeah, he wants to FAFO. We'll make sure that you understand, because we don't take this kind of threats. We don't allow for you to just be able to say whatever you want when it comes to threatening individuals' families. Like for me, say anything you want to me, because honestly, you ain't gonna scare me. You say something about my family, you're gonna threaten my family, we definitely gonna have a problem.
We have a saying, and eventually we might put this on a t-shirt. I'll put you on a t-shirt.
Right. You know what, Mike? Hey, AJ, we need to get...
For me, if you threaten my family, or if you threaten my brother's family, I'll put you on a t-shirt. There's so much desert around here.
Mutual combat laws here in the state of Texas. But, AJ, if you're still in here...
Good Samaritan laws here in Arizona.
We need to collaborate on that t-shirt. Where it says, something like FAFO, I'm going to put you on a t-shirt. Yeah,
but,
yes.
To end on a good note, actual refugees fleeing persecution arrived today. Several families, so I believe it was 59 white South African refugees arrived here in America, fleeing persecution. You know what flags they're waving? American flags.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They're not waving the Palestinian flag. They're not waving the Mexico flag. They're not waving the pride flag, you know, the knockoff of God's promise, right?
Right.
These are white South African refugees fleeing persecution, South Africa, where they are beheaded, where they are killed daily for being Christian, for being white. And I can't wait to see, you know, the melanated liberals. You know, we already have MSNBC's 𝗬𝗎𝗓𝗓 whining about, you know, these refugees coming here.
You guys want to see real racism? Go take a look at South Africa. That's all we got to say.
That's racism. That's persecution. That requires our intervention. Not the people that are willingly breaking into this country and murdering and raping our women and children.
Right. So. But we love you guys. We thank you guys. Some big news for our Saturday radio show. We are going to more than likely be moving that here soon. Previously, it was on Saturdays on Radio DeBang, Facebook, YouTube, all that, right? At noon Central Time. However, we're going to be moving that more than likely to Tuesdays at 7 p.m. So Tuesdays, 7 p.m. We'll let you guys know more about that details. We love you. Thank you for all being in here tonight. And Mike, take us home.
Thank you so much for, you know, joining us in America's Greatest Podcast. Be sure to follow the Legislative Lounge on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Rumble, Twitch, and Patreon. And be sure to follow myself and Nate on our personal accounts, both on TikTok and Instagram, so you never lose us and you always hear from us. And be sure to interact with us. Send us a DM. Give us content that will get you interested, right? Tell us something that you want us to hear.
Right.
We love you. God bless. Stay safe.